I'm Victor Welzant with the International Critical Incident Stress Foundation, and wanted to welcome everyone who is looking at this, and thank you all for the questions that you have sent in. Thank you all for your service during this time, and wanted to really let you know what ICISF will be doing over the next few weeks to support the work that you're doing in the field. First off, we're going to be doing a series of podcasts which will be coming out in the near future. Prior to that, we're going to be doing recordings such as this, featuring some of our key staff at ICISF and key faculty members, as well as other subject matter experts, to try to address responding from a crisis intervention framework to what has been described as an unprecedented incident in our history. I would like to just highlight a few things that have been helpful so far, and then just address one or two questions today that we have received pretty frequently from everyone that has written in. So a couple of key principles that we found is that the basic CISM interventions that you already know can still be incredibly helpful. It's not about reinventing the wheel. It's really about modifying what you already do to keep your teams and the people you serve safe and maintain the proper physical distancing that we've all been encouraged to do. The one intervention that has proven exceptionally useful is the crisis management briefing, and many of those are being conducted by video conferencing now rather than obviously not putting people together in a room. Finding ways to conduct those and also record those and post them later for staff has been one principle that many organizations across the country have found really helpful. The other intervention that's being used very frequently is the one-on-one, many of which by telephone in situations where your team is not directly in contact with the people you are trying to serve and support. The basic SAFER model, again, tried and true, has worked very well. One slight difference is having a series of resources ready that are related to COVID-19 and having handouts available, for example, directing people to the CDC website, directing people to remember the basics about stress management. In many of the interventions we've been doing, we're emphasizing that this is really not an incident like many that are that's going to be over in a relatively short period of time, but this is really ongoing. And self-care and doing things to build resilience in an ongoing way is really the take-home message, thinking about this for the long haul. We're also recommending that people reach out to each other on the CISM teams. Use your network of team members, teammates, create a buddy system. Check in with each other. As you're doing interventions, check in with each other at the end of the day. Remember the risks of secondary trauma and continue to support each other. We've made a commitment to be here for you. We are pushing out resources, and we're going to be doing that very frequently. And we're also trying to answer the many, many questions that have been coming in through the phones and emails. We're trying to find a way to streamline that process, which we'll be letting you know about very shortly. What I'd like to do now is just answer a couple of the common questions that have come in. And I think these are concerns that many agencies, many organizations share right now. So here's one. How do you handle the people who are panicking and influencing others at work? Which is a great question. I think one of the things, as all of you know, one of the antidotes to anxiety and panic is information. And I think regularly presenting information to your teams, to the people you're serving, really makes a big difference. Many organizations are doing more operational briefings on a daily basis, reminding people of the risks of rumors, and reaching out on a regular basis to do the CMBs, to do the one-on-ones, I think is one of the best ways. But having a unified voice around information can make a huge difference. Thanks for that question, it was great. Another question that I think is really useful is, do you suggest one-on-one or group interventions, of course, with less than 10 people? And I think the answer to that is twofold. I think there will be a time to do all types of interventions. when you need to think about a small group intervention, it's extremely important to think about that with the constraints of physical and social distancing that you've been hearing about. We are not in a phase where those interventions are being used extensively. I'm not saying there's never a time right now where you wouldn't consider that, but I think given the health concerns, what we're leaning much more toward are interventions that maintain physical space and get good information out to people, good reminders about self-care. The last tip I'll talk about for today is the importance of having our crisis support work embedded in the organizational or the community strategic plan for responding to COVID-19, which means having our teams be a part of the strategic planning process for the response. Having representatives at key meetings, having a seat at the table, so to speak, is very important to not work at cross purposes, not duplicate efforts. And some of the initial efforts that teams have found to be really helpful is connecting with those who are managing the larger COVID response, making sure that the CISM or crisis support response is really a part of that, and also taking care of the people who are doing that planning work, whether it's your emergency operations center, a task force, a small working group at a hospital, making sure that CISM is available to those individuals who are bearing that burden too. I'd like to thank you all for everything that you're doing, and please remember that we will be here to support you. Please take care and be safe.